lovelies, it's New Year's Eve and welcome to my Oath, Boast and Toast, which is an annual tradition where we make a promise for the year to come, we boast about something we've done in the year that's passed, and we raise a toast in this fabulous drinking horn to something or someone special. And this is a drinking horn that I got from Rwanda cow horns. I'll leave their link below. There's a whole video about how I got this drinking horn, and I use it each year to make my Oath, Boast and Toast. So New Year's Eve last year, I went out on the town with my friends Sean and Chantel, and we met up with Joe and Zuba at Ribeiro petrol station. So Ribeiro is an area across town with a stunning view of the whole of Kigali. It's a great place to go and stand if you want to watch the fireworks, because you're literally looking right down at the convention centre and you see all of the pretty lights go off at midnight. The only thing was that the traffic was really bad, and it took me like about an hour to get home on a public moto when usually it takes me maybe 20 minutes. So this year we all sort of asked in group chat, do we want to go out this year? Do we want to go and do that again? And we were all kind of like, just feeling a bit lazy. So we've all decided to have a nice quiet evening at home. So because we're having a quiet evening at home, I've lit this little candle in the background. I'll just tell you about that. Okay, so since we're staying home tonight, I thought I would just light the altar. I'm not religious. I've talked about this before. I'm a humanist. But growing up there was quite a bit heathen in me, and so really it's more sort of a familiar thing, just sort of something that you do every now and again, just because it's familiar, which I suppose is the entire point of ritual. Is something repetitive and familiar and reassuring. So when I moved to Africa, the British gods didn't make a lot of sense, because in British sort of heathenry paganism, it's a lot to do with the cycle of the seasons. So midwinter, midsummer, the equinoxes, and the Celtic festivals of harvest, fertility and death. And we don't really have those seasons here, so it didn't really make a lot of sense. For a few years I did try to continue those traditions, but didn't really make a lot of sense. So when I was quite young, I did a lot of schooling in quite a Gujarat community in the UK, so to me Hindu gods and iconography feels quite familiar as well. I feel quite at home with that, so that's mostly what I use here, just because it's what I have. And I picked up the statuettes in India. I'm trying to remember where we were. I can't remember exactly which city. I'd have to go and remind myself. But I got Nataraja, and Nataraja is sort of the dance of life. And he has two dances. One is sort of wild and destructive and crazy and, chaotic. And the other one's very calm and very mellow and very sort of, life going on kind of dance. And he's got his left foot in the air, and when the left foot hits the ground, that's the end of the world. So he keeps dancing, and we hope he keeps dancing. And then I've got Saraswati Vaneshwari, who is sort of I hope I've pronounced that right actually, but from my understanding, the goddess of sort of the written word, I think poetry, but writers, patron of writers really. In the middle is Lakshmi, who is good fortune and opportunity. And on the right is Ganesh, and that brings good fortune, but he's also the remover of obstacles, which is quite a useful guy to have on your side if you've got problems going on. So yeah, like I say, it's iconography to me, and that's fine. And then the other part about it is also inviting the spirits of the house to come and kind of acknowledging and thanking the spirits of the house for sort of the safety of the house, and good fortune for those visiting the house, and protection for those living in the house, and for the cats, and all of that kind of thing as well. It's sort of what you'd expect really. There's nothing too sort of esoteric about it. Yeah, but the first thing that we're going to do is to heat up some ghee to light the divi lamp. So the easiest way that I've found to do this is just to put the ghee in a metal ladle and just heat it over the flame. As you can see, it starts to melt really quickly. So ghee is just clarified butter, and it has quite a high smoke point, I think, a lot higher than normal butter. So it's quite good for frying things, definitely for making curries. And then once that's melted, you just pour it into the lamp, like that. And then we just take one of these wicks, which you can pick up at somewhere like Sharma's or Patel's. You just dunk it in there to soak up the ghee and place it with the wick facing the lip. Might just give that a little twist. There we go. And then we're just going to place the lamp up here on the altar with a little offering. That's milk with honey, turmeric, cardamom, I think pepper. Always need a little bit of spice when you're feeding the gods, because they can be sweet, but they can also be a little hot to handle. It's kind of a legend, I think, more from sort of West African diasporic religions like voodoo, that the dead, so sort of the ancestors, I think they're not supposed to have a very good sense of taste, so they like extremes of flavour, so extremely sweet or very hot and spicy, but the sort of British food in the middle is a bit meh. I just thought that was a funny story. So just replacing the candle in Ganesh, which my friend bought me. And sort of the way that it goes is I light this candle because, like I said, Ganesh, he is the remover of obstacles. So he opens the way basically. And we ring this little bell here to get the spirit's attention. And then there's a little ritual which is private. So I think with rituals there's always a performative part that is for public spectacle, and then there's the private part, which is the communion of the individual with the spirits. It's a bit like, I guess, if you go to Catholic Mass, you've got all of the incense waving and the chanting, which is for the masses, and then you have like the quiet communion and that part of it, which is more sort of the personal interactions. So yeah, I won't film it just because, you know, it's not really about putting it on camera. But yeah, so you light the candle to open the way, ring the bell, attract the spirits, and then you say your pieces and you make your offerings, and you invite sort of the spirits of the house as well. And then when you're finished, we light the little diva lamp, and yeah, and we leave the spirits alone to enjoy whatever you've given them, really. So yeah, let's get on with that. Then I'm just spinning a bit of luck out into the world. 2, 3. It's very peaceful. So that means that I'm in for the night, and I've actually had a very, very relaxed, chill day today. I've been catching up on Stranger Things so that when the finale drops tomorrow, I'm ready for it. And it's been really good, actually. I was holding my breath the first couple of episodes because I was thinking, oh no, is it gonna be okay? Is it gonna be good? And yeah, it's been really, really good. So I'm looking forward to the finale tomorrow. And now I'm just going to give you some of the highlights, some of the struggles that this year has brought. And yeah, let's start with the bad news. Okay, so this time last year, in this video for the start of 2024, I was telling you that I was feeling a bit down, a bit depressed, because we've been told that our houses were going to be knocked down. And I was very, very uncertain last year about whether or not I would still be in my home this time this year to tell you about my Oath, Boast and Toast. So a lot of people have been asking for updates over the year. So I'll start off with that. So the good news is, as you can see, my house is still standing and I'm still in it. So essentially, it seems like they might have run out of money, or like the investor didn't pull through or something, because we were all told that we'd be out by Christmas last year, and that everything would get knocked down. So far, it hasn't happened. Somebody came around, evaluated all of the houses, told us pretty much to pack, and then just never came back again. And that's really common here. It's really common here. There's not such great communication between the council and the public or the communities. It can be very much sort of a surprise. But then a couple of months ago, they came and paved part of our road. Not all of it, but part of it, including just outside my house. So it's now really good because I can get in and out of my driveway. It's all been finished. The road is finished. My landlord came and he built up my side of the driveway, so it's really smooth. I can drive in and out, no problem. And I was like celebrating. I'm like, yay, you know, because you wouldn't pave a road if you're just about to knock down the house, would you? And I floated this theory with my landlord, and he said, actually, it doesn't really mean anything. It can just be for aesthetics, because there's quite a big golf course down the road. So a lot of important people come up and down this road. So it can just be the aesthetic value of making it look like all of the roads have been paved. Rather than, you know, important people driving past and just seeing a Muram road. But he said, you know, it's definitely not a guarantee that they're not going to build here. And if we look outside, you can see these big tower blocks going up. And I think there was a picture in the New Times, like an artist's rendering of what this area will eventually look like. And it's definitely a big shiny hotel or tower block. It's definitely not our little houses. So there's still a very high likelihood that at any moment somebody could turn up and say, right, we've got the money now, clear off. We don't know. There's no certainty. I'm feeling hopeful that maybe it won't be immediately. Maybe we'll get another year or two out of this. But anyway, I'm just grateful that I'm here now. But there's a huge amount of uncertainty. So basically all of our neighbours are holding off building anything. They're holding off making improvements to their home. I mean, I've got some problems with my house, but we're all standing there going, well, you know, we don't know whether or not to repair the problems or not, because what's the point in spending a load of money if the house just suddenly gets knocked down? And I had another neighbour who was building an Airbnb on his property, and he goes like, well, I don't know whether to finish it or not, because I'm just sinking money into a project that I will never get reimbursed for if they just come and appropriate the properties. So we're in a real state of limbo still. No idea what's going to happen, or when, or if, or how. We just take every day as we can, and we're grateful for what we've got. So also this year, for the first time in my life, I've had chronic insomnia, and I can't quite figure out what's causing it, but I think it's actually a rise in the noise levels around here. Like all through Christmas and even today, which is New Year's Eve, there has been building work, and it goes on all through the night. There was a shop opposite my house which was turned into a bar, and they eventually closed that down for noise, and now they've just reopened it as another bar. So I don't really know, you know, what to say about that. The noise in the area has just been going up and up and up over the years. I'm going to do a whole other video about that, but something that's been new this year is there's a workshop next door to me, and they've started spraying chemicals, and literally you can see the chemicals floating over into the garden some days. Some days I wake up, I sit down to have my cup of tea, and the whole house just stinks like a board marker. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's solvents or spray paint or something. But this year my asthma has gone off the charts. I used to need my inhaler maybe 4 or 5 times a year. Usually in the wet season I'd have like a little episode, but that was it. Like my Ventolin salbutamol inhaler every now and again when there was a sudden issue. This is the first year since I was an undiagnosed child that I've needed not just my emergency inhaler but also a daily disc inhaler, and I've needed that pretty much every day. I am suffering really badly. I'm currently on antihistamines because I've started sneezing. I've got some kind of allergy or hay fever, and the antihistamines work, but they knock me out. So like I will just fall asleep in the afternoon. Even non-drowsy antihistamines will knock me out. So I don't know if you know this, but Nitol, which is an over-the-counter sleeping tablet, is just an antihistamine. It's the same stuff you take for hay fever. It's the drowsy kind. And usually the stuff you take for hay fever is non-drowsy, but both of them knock me out. So I take it in the morning because I can't survive. And then in the afternoon, I'm just out for the count for about 3 hours straight. And I've woken up and I'm feeling a bit groggy, but the other problem with them is they last for 24 hours. And you really shouldn't drink with antihistamines because they can make you very, very wobbly. I'm going to have a cheeky beer, and my friend bought me an incredible, very nice bottle of whiskey. So I'm going to have a little bit, and of course I'm going to do my Boast and Toast later. But I'm okay because I'm at home, and if the worst comes to the worst, I can just fall into bed. But it's kind of one of those things in the morning where you've got to decide between, do I stop sneezing or do I keep sneezing and have a drink? It's like, don't know, weighing it up. It's very difficult on New Year's Eve, but those have really been the main things this year. There's been no major tragedies, but there is still huge uncertainty about the house, and, breathing issues and sleep issues and noise issues and spray chemical issues have definitely been a thing. I did take the noise issues and the spray chemical issues to REMA, which is the department that deals with air and noise pollution. Didn't get me anywhere. I've got some new noise cancelling headphones, which I'll talk about in another video, but I think really the spray chemicals is a very new development that started at the beginning of this year, and that concerns me a lot because I've noticed not just my breathing but my cats, we're all having slight breathing issues at the moment, and I don't know where else to turn for that. It just doesn't seem to be an issue that anybody really takes very seriously. And but I'll say that for I've done a whole other video, or a whole other video is in the works, and I'll break it all down for you and you can see the problem and maybe give me some advice. But anyway, on to happier news. This year has been kind of a quiet ride, I feel. There's been nothing like crazy amazing happening, but also nothing really awful either. It's just been a fairly kind of meh year, which I think you get from time to time, and that's good. A few of the highlights. So last year I was talking about the fact that I just passed my motorbike license, my full motorbike license, and this year I got a Royal Enfield. I bought it off Rudy at Pili Pili in Kibagabaga. It's this quite a well-known bar. He's been brilliant. He's a real kind of gearhead, and it's just been really fun sort of learning about the bike. It had a few issues, like the battery was a bit dodgy, and need a bit of things doing here and there, but I've learned so much. Like I've learned how to do an oil change, how to change a battery. It's been really fascinating. I've really enjoyed it, and I love the bike. It's really very cool. And we went on a whole trip up to Giseni, and my friend was opening a hotel there. So I drove all the way up to Giseni, had a lovely, lovely time at Inyoni Hotel, which has this beautiful view of Lake Kivu. And I was there for the opening event, and then I drove all the way back again. That was really nice. This time last year, I was preparing for my friends Harris and Rob to come and visit, so they came in January. That again was really, really good. We had a lovely time. Rob was here for his birthday, and it was really good to catch up. We had meals and dancing. We went to this brilliant jazz night at a place called La Rustica in Ribeiro, and I did a video about it, but very shortly after I did the video, they just stopped doing the music night. I think there was some noise complaints or something. But a lot of things have closed. Like this year, La Rustica stopped doing the jazz night that had only just started. We've had a notice that KFC, which is the only international fast food joint in Rwanda, they've got one outlet in Kigali and that's closing. Our only cinema, Olympia in Ribeiro, that's closing. There's a small local cinema called Cine Miaka, which is in Nyamirambo. I might go and do a video about that actually, because it's a really old place. It's like an institution in Kigali, and I only ever went there once to watch a film in 2008, but it's still going. So I should really go and do a little video. If you'd like to see that, let me know. Should I go and do a little video about Cine Miaka? But yeah, the big one, the Canal Box Ribeiro Olympia, massive not multiplex, it's only got one screen, but you know, this big cinema, that's closed. And another institution, so there was a bar called Mamba Club, and Mamba Club has been there forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And last year it was there at this time because we went to my friend's bar, The Time, which is right opposite Mamba Club. And now Mamba Club has gone. It's been torn down. It doesn't exist anymore, which is crazy because it's a bit like Sundowner. You know, you'd notice if it disappeared because it's one of those places that's been there for so long that if you get a motorbike, you just automatically say, oh, Mamba Kimihurura, and they know where it is because it's been there for so long. And now it hasn't, but the area will still be known as Mamba Kimihurura because that's how things work here. Places get named after buildings or people, and even when the buildings and the people have gone, the place is still named after them or it. So it will always be Mamba Kimihurura, at least for another decade or so. Yeah, it's interesting. It's sad. The city is really becoming different very quickly. And some things are really good, and some things you wish they'd possibly slow down or rethink, just like on a kind of a human level and a community level. But you know, I mean, what can you do? So yeah, that's all been happening. One of the most fun trips I went on a little outing to find a place on Google Maps called the Wall of Pipes, and this is one of my funnest memories from 2025 has been going to see Wall of Pipes. It was literally, it had one review, a 5-star review on Google saying this is amazing, so many pipes, and I thought, what is this Wall of Pipes? And yeah, I did a video about it, you can go see. But it's just down the road from Kaninya, is it Kaninya or Kininya Canopy Walk? There's two places, one's Kaninya, one's Kininya, and I always get them mixed up, like the pronunciation is so similar. But yeah, there's a beautiful canopy walk, and yeah, it was stunningly beautiful, and that was just a really nice making that video. Other honourable mentions, I grew watermelons, or rather my gardener Emmy grew them and I ate one. I shouldn't take the credit for the hard work there. I also made friends with a lovely lady called Mingina, who is another female biker, and she organised the first ever women's female biker group in Rwanda, and it was really good fun. We all kind of met up, we had a great day, there was cake, and it was really nice because we just filled a venue with loads of female bikers and talked about bikes and road safety, and yeah, it was really good. It was part of an international female bikers day, so an international event. And every country in the world kind of joins in by holding an event of their own, and that's what we did, and that was really good. And also to do with bikes, before I bought my Enfield, Dominic at Kigali Motorbike Rentals, he let me borrow one of his Cyclones, and we all went out on this huge group ride for the day, and that was the only group ride I've ever really been on, like a proper biker gang, and that was really good fun. I enjoyed that. So those have been some of the highlights. I wouldn't say there's been anything off the scale this year, anything like truly, that's crazy. But also there's been nothing too awful or terrible. It's just been a coaster of a year. I've just kind of coasted through it. So I will take that, you know, I will take that level of calm. So yeah, I'm just going to go and open a bottle of beer and pour myself a cheeky little whiskey, taste that very fine Irish that they've bought me. And if I'm still awake, if I'm still conscious at midnight, we'll come back here to do the Oath, Boast and Toast. So see you later. I have some very lovely friends. Love that sound. So guys, I really enjoyed the cider last year, so let's do it again this year. And away we go. Behold the drinking horn of New Year's Day. Welcome back, guys. It's time for the Oath, Boast and Toast. It is not New Year's Eve. It is currently 7 p.m. on New Year's Day. Yesterday was a write-off. I didn't make it. I got to 11:30 and I just came over so tired, like unbelievably tired. So I curled myself up in bed. Midnight, I heard the fireworks going off, so I sort of revived myself enough to send a whole load of Happy New Year texts, and then I passed out and I slept for 10 hours straight. It was the best New Year's present I could possibly have had. So I've actually been feeling pretty low on energy today, kind of groggy. So I treated myself to a crispy chicken burger from Mr. Chips, because they do amazing crispy chicken burgers. Highly recommend. And I just finished watching the finale of Stranger Things, and I thought it was brilliant. I thought they really did sort of wrap it up perfectly. They covered all the bases. They gave everybody a satisfying ending. It was suitably an 80s ending, where you go through everybody's lives and what they kind of become afterwards. That was a very 80s thing to do, very early 90s thing to do, and left it with a question mark. I thought it was so well done. And in my year wipe for 2025, I was absolutely bemoaning the awful use of CGI in series like Frankenstein and The Abandons. I mean, the CGI was just abysmal. It put me off. I couldn't. Stranger Things is how you do it right. They employed it unapologetically and they did it really well. They used it in all the right ways. It was really just really well done. That is how you stick a landing. That was a satisfying end to a very good series. So well done to Stranger Things. We're going to drink to Stranger Things. So now it's time for my Oath, Boast and Toast. This year, I am a warlock. So warlock literally means an oath breaker. It means I didn't manage to keep my oath from last year. And I'm very sorry about that. So my oath last year was to write a book about Rwandan folklore, and I just didn't get there. And I should have been able to get there, because it was a very, very short book. It shouldn't have been a difficult thing to do. But I have been feeling creatively a bit bankrupt lately, and I'm finding writing books quite difficult to motivate myself to do, because I've realised that one video on YouTube gets so much more interaction and so much more of a response than when I write things. And it shouldn't be that way, but it kind of is, and over time it starts to feel a little bit sort of less motivating to pick up a pen and start writing, and then you start to use it as an excuse not to do that. So I haven't fulfilled last year's oath, but what I'm going to do this year is I'm going to probably put out folklore videos rather than a book, because I think more people would see it and more people would enjoy it. But last year I didn't manage to fulfill my oath from 2024. My oath from 2024 was to record one of my books as an audiobook. And I didn't manage to do that last year, but I managed to do it this year. I didn't manage to record one of my own books, but just for the fun of it, I did a little bit of voice over work for a couple of other authors, and I voiced over a pub quiz book, and Yeah, this is hard to explain. I also voiced over a collection of very, very Christian stories about dying. I don't want to go into it, and I'm not going to explain myself, okay? I just wanted to see if I could, and I wanted to get a bit of experience, a bit of practice in. So I did both of those, and I came to the conclusion that if I'm going to do any more audiobooks, it's going to be my own work, because it's so much work. Nowadays, you're not just a voiceover, you're also the editor, the sound EQer. You have to do all of the audio prep yourself as well, and it takes hours of your life. So I wanted to know if I could do it, because now I know that I could do it for my own work if I want to. So I might have a go at that. But this year, I am taking the pressure right off, because I've realised the past few years I've been saying, I'm going to write this, I'm going to record this, I'm going to do this. And my motivation has been through the floor. I am creatively struggling a lot lately. So I'm not going to make it a difficult one this year. I'm just going to say by this time next year, I will have done something creative. I don't know what, and I'm not going to put a restriction on myself, because then I start to get anxiety about it. And the minute you start to get anxiety about something creative is the minute you stop being creative. So by this time next year, I'm going to have done something creative that I'm proud of. Don't know what it is yet, no idea what it will be, but I will have done that. So here's my oath to being creative this year. That is really nice malt cider. Okay, my boast for this year is a damn easy one. Guys, I've got an Enfield. It is a cool bike. It is one of the coolest bikes on the roads in Rwanda at the moment. It's a bit scuffed and beaten up. It was an old tourism bike. It was used mercilessly for tourism for a few years. So it's got a few bumps and bruises, but it's a project. There's some stuff I can do up. I might change the seating cover. I was thinking about doing the seats like in red leather. What do you reckon? Like a red leather kind of, yeah. And just kind of sprucing it up. But, I'm also really proud of myself, because I can change its battery now. And if I had to, I could probably do an oil change, and I know how to change the air filter, so I've got a bit of mechanic sort of understanding under my belt now, and I'm really proud of that. So, my boast is, guys, I got an Enfield. Cheers. I've also got mulled cider halfway down my shirt now. Okay, so my toast this year is a very easy one as well. Towards the end of this year, my neighbour came and gave me a knock and sort of asked me if I would like to go to an Irembo celebration. So an Irembo celebration, it means sort of the gateway, the opening of the gateway. It's part of the traditional Rwandan wedding celebrations, whereby the groom's family go to meet the bride's family and they start to negotiate over the dowry and, whether or not the two families wish to unite. There's a lot of exchanging of presents, especially good whiskey. It's a bit like, the main wedding is for everybody, and the Irembo is for close friends and family, and I was very, very honoured to be invited to go to that. And they lent me a beautiful mushanana, which is national dress, Rwandan national dress. I haven't worn one of those in many, many years, and it is just so damn elegant. It is one of the most beautiful national dresses. Very, very much like an Indian sari, but two pieces of material instead of one. It's always a pleasure. You feel like you're floating across the ground when you're wearing one. It's so nice. So I got to go to this Irembo celebration, and it all went very, very well, which means that my neighbour's son, Cedric, will be getting married to the woman that he loves. So this year, the toast goes out to Cedric and his soon-to-be wife. May they have a very happy life. To Cedric and his wife. And that is the Oath, Boast and Toast finished for 2026. Let me know below what your Oath, Boast and Toast, I can't even speak. Here's to not being able to speak. Woo! Tell me what your oath, your boast and your toast are. What you promised to do this year. What are you really proud of having done last year? And who would you like to raise a cheers to? And I shall see you in the next video. Have a fantastic start to the new year, guys. Mwah. Bye bye.